cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best of life. I am what I am today, cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say.
Hey, this is Danny Brown with The Deal. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe and comment at wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate you listening. This week's guest, special guest, Jon Orlando, my man from Vegas, Action Junkeez podcast. Check him out. Known him a long time, played ball together, and we get into some fun stories. This was recorded at the end of last baseball season, so you may hear some Dodger references and baseball references. Hope you enjoyed as much as we do. Talk to you soon.
I am what I am today, cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled today to have my good buddy Jon Orlando in the house.
Hey.
Welcome to The Deal.
I love it.
I'm Danny Brown, as you guys know. Jon and I have a long history, but first of all, I've been trying to book Jon since we launched 6 months ago, and you're a man of your word. You said, I'm going to do the show when I'm in LA, and I know we've tried to reschedule a bunch of times as you're flying in and out, but we got you here.
I love it.
And I'm happy about it.
Thank you.
Before I get into this, I got to give some history here. Jon and I go way back.
There's a lot of history.
There is a lot of history, a lot of LA history. First of all, I will say, and I hate to out you, but Jon Orlando is Hollywood royalty, the son of Tony Orlando. And I say that because I've known you and your dad for years, and you've always been so non-Hollywood, so down to earth, good, solid people. Your dad used to come to our Little League games and high five and cheer. And he's a warm, friendly, down to earth guy. There was no bullshit. There was no pomp and sense, which is very rare. So I always appreciate that about you and Tony. Jon and I went back to Little League playing together.
Do you know how many teams?
How many? I know the Pirates, Angels.
Angels.
Oh, God.
Angels
too.
It all started on the Angels.
It all started on the Angels.
Wait, you weren't on the Orioles?
No.
Angels.
Angels. I just know Senior League Pirates is when we all put it together and we started dominating.
Yes. We had Barry Levine on that
Barry
team,
Levine,
too.
the Fisher brothers, and on and on. And then we went to rival high schools. We won the city championship one year. You guys went the next year, Dodger Stadium.
Yep.
And then we went off to college, and everyone's kind of gone in different ways and have come back together. But interesting thing, I don't know how to define Jon Orlando. You're a comedian, you're an entrepreneur, you're an entertainer. You're kind of like the convergence of an entrepreneur and entertainer. You've been very involved in tech startups, very involved in Vegas sports. You now live in Vegas. So I don't know how to define you.
Basically, I'm a guy that never wanted to have a real job, basically, right? Out of college, which, by the way, I dropped out with a semester to go.
Oh,
I went to UNLV for 2 years, transferred to Cal State Northridge for 2 years, majored in film directing, dropped out with a semester to go to do stand-up for my dad in Branson, Missouri.
I remember that when you first went on the road.
When I was 22, which is a long time ago, as you know.
So you started your entertainment career officially in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah, in Branson, Missouri. First time on stage was to 2,000 people. Had never even been on stage. Had never even held a microphone before. And it felt weird, so I made them hook me up on like a lavalier on my suit. And my dad overheard the conversation that I was having with the sound man, and my dad stepped in, because my dad's been around the block in entertainment for a little bit, so he had some words of wisdom. Of course, I don't want to listen because I think I know it all.
You know it all, of course.
And he says, I don't think you want a lavalier. I'm like, why? He's like, you're not going to know what to do with your hands. And I thought, what a silly thing to say. What do you mean I won't know what to do with my hands? What's so hard? And he's like, it's different when you're up there. I'm like, what do you know, old man?
How does he know?
You know nothing, you know? So I insisted on the lavalier. I get on stage. I'm supposed to do 5 minutes. And this is a sold out 2,000 people in the theater. And the people are literally like Norman Brokaw, the chairman of the board of the William Morris Agency at the time, before WME even, right? Bobby Vinton, Wayne Newton, Andy Williams, the Osmonds.
And you're stepping on for the first time. You don't know shit.
Tonight was there videoing it to do like a little segment and like Orlando passes the torch kind of a thing. So I've got 5 minutes of material I'm supposed to do. Danny, I ripped through the 5 minutes in about a minute and a half. I'm not even kidding you. I was talking that fast, sweating like Matt Slavin eating a bowl of soup at the Sizzler. Okay, that's an inside joke for only 9 people. But sweating, like crazy. And I did not know what to do with my hands. It was like they had a mind of just flailing around, and like on video, like a small thing looks. When you start doing this, it looks crazy, as you will see. Yeah, really bad. And
so that was your first experience.
That was my first experience.
And you went back for more after that.
Yeah, luckily I had job security because I should have been cut right then.
Your ass should have been canned right there.
100%.
So how long did you do stand up? And
10 years.
Wow,
ended up doing, never really did too many comedy clubs, never worked on Sunset here. It was really weird. Like I kind of had a reverse stand-up career. Like normally you'd go to open mic night, then you'd get a weekly spot like at a comedy club, and then you'd hopefully go out on the road and open for, you know, different entertainers and stuff. I started by opening for my dad and then parlayed that to once I got good at it, if I could say that I ever got good at it. I don't know, that's questionable, but and ended up
to get better in 10 years.
Yeah, I got better. Yeah, like it took me a minute to get comfortable, but then once I got comfortable, I was opening for like Tom Jones and Paul Anka and Dionne Warwick and the Four Tops and the Temptations. Anyone that's in the, you know, Tony Orlando category, pretty much. I opened for 10 years. It was great.
So you got some insights into some serious Hollywood performance and what's going on. So I didn't realize it was so many. So you did hundreds of shows.
Oh, yeah. Just the Branson schedule was 2 shows a day, 6 days a week for 8 years that I did. So...
Are you doing any of that anymore? You ever once in a while do it? So you've given it all up for business or podcasting?
Yeah, it was
Action
weird.
Junkeez, Vegas Junkeez.
Yeah, so I got kind of burned out doing stand-up. Like, it's fun to work Vegas, but how many times can you go to, like, Council Bluffs, Iowa and tell jokes, or Minot, North Dakota, or Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan,
so
or Cheyenne, Wyoming? Yeah, you know. Like, if I could just open for Tom Jones in Las Vegas, sign me up. But sadly, not that lucky.
That's not
on the table. So... September 11th happened. So stand-up was obviously the first thing they kind of cut from the card. No one felt like laughing at that time, you know, back then. And so I took some time off I thought I was just taking time off. And then when things got back to normal, I'd go back to stand-up. But in that time, it was really weird. A friend of mine who had another friend who worked at a magazine called Controversy Magazine. It was owned by Quentin Coriat, a football player, played the Colts and the Cowboys, and his partner was Marshall Falk, obviously.
Marshall, of course.
And they needed to get Brooke Burke on the cover of their magazine. So they somehow, through 6 degrees of separation, a friend of a friend of a friend was like, I might have a guy, and I was that guy.
You were the guy.
And I actually did have a friend that modeled with Brooke. At the time for like Venus Swimmer, and this was like when she had the show like Wild on E!
That was when she was at the peak.
Right.
This is pre David Charvet.
Correct. Yeah,
my boy Dave. I should get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
He went to uni with me, by the way.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
He's a good buddy from high school.
Really?
Yep. One degree of separation from uni high or whatever. Yes, he did.
Know.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Great volleyball player.
Was he?
Yeah,
stud and just a stud. That guy.
Well,
just, come on.
It's
not even fair to look like that.
No, it wasn't
it's not
fair.
right. Yeah,
it wasn't fair.
It's not fair. So I got Brooke on the cover of this magazine, and then literally like overnight, I ended up getting an offer from Controversy. Like, we want you to find every cover. We're 6 issues a year. Find every cover and find a girl we can feature on the inside. And at the time, I was a single guy, and I thought, wow, this is a great way to meet women. Like, I wasn't even thinking they were going to pay me. Like,
it wasn't even a job. It was just
I was
fun.
doing this on, like, I love sports. So I was like, just to say I'm working with Marshall Falk and Quentin Coriat, sign me up, you know? And that turned into a PR firm for 10 years. And because I started with the guys, football players and models, our niche became reaching the male demo 18 to 34, because we had athletes, models, alcohol brands, casinos, and a PR firm was born. Yeah.
So that's how you made your transition from performer to business entrepreneur.
Right.
And I know you've also gotten involved with some tech companies.
Yeah. So then along the way, one of my clients was a poker site when I had the PR firm.
Yeah.
And that client, when they made online gaming illegal in this country, which now it's making a comeback, but at the time they passed a bill where you couldn't bet on poker, you couldn't play poker online anymore. So he went on to open up a mobile app development company. I joined his team, I was there for like 5 years, and it was fun, but it wasn't really me. Like, it was doing biz dev, and like they wanted, like, Danny, I'm like, you can't be a comedian on Friday and then a
sales guy,
business owner on Monday, and then be working for someone when you've never really worked for someone your entire life, other than like Front Runner's shoes in Brentwood in college.
Sal Moreno.
Right. So, you know,
another inside joke that 10 people will know.
Yeah. This is a great podcast for people that know us, you know, but they don't listen. So now what do we do?
Yeah. Great.
I have the same problem with mine. Don't feel bad. You'll get through it.
So tell me about the podcast, Action Junkeez, Vegas Junkeez. I know Action Junkeez has been around for years.
Yeah. So it's been 3
tell me
years.
about the development of that, the growth of that, and starting now with Vegas Junkeez, which is a TV show too, out of the Tropicana.
Well, YouTube. Yeah. So, which is like the new TV now, right? So,
it's the Seth Rothstein show. What do we call it?
Right, exactly. It's very casino-like. I'm just following in his footsteps.
Perfect.
That's how I'll be owning that place soon.
Good.
Yeah, you know, so I was getting, after, 10 years of the PR firm, 5 years of this mobile app company, as you know, time goes fast, man. You blink and it's like, boom, 15 years. And I realized, wow, I just spent 15 years on something I didn't really love. Like, I was good at it, but I didn't love it. Yeah. You know, and I was, it sounds hokey, but I was listening to, I think you follow him too, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Of course.
3 or 4 years ago. And
Gary V?
Yeah, Gary V's been on my radar screen for a long time, even prior to that.
Me too. Early social media, he was talking to real estate guys. Like, this is like 2006.
Yep.
Talking Facebook. He was still pushing the wine.
Yep.
And I was like, who is this kid? This guy's got
it.
Mad energy. And like, wow.
Yeah.
He cuts right through the noise.
Right.
Spot on.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was watching a video of his like 3 years ago, and he said, my advice to anyone listening that doesn't know what they want to do next is triple down on what you're good at. And so when I asked myself what I'm good at talking, you know? And so I didn't want to necessarily go back to stand-up, and podcasting, kind of that format made sense for me. Because stand-up's a lot of pressure. Like, I never even really consider myself a comedian. Like, I always felt when I was on stage like I was playing a part in a movie of a comedian. It never felt natural to me. I'm not the best writer for comedy.
And you have to be a writer to do that. I mean, you're mostly writing your own jokes.
Yeah, you know, like, and I tried having writers because my dad, was trying to help me along, and like I can't take someone else's words and make it my own. That's a special skill too. That's why really acting.
That's
wasn't
interesting.
For me.
I would have thought from the outside looking in that it is a natural thing, but you're saying it wasn't. No, it was not a natural.
It was, at least for me, it wasn't. And so the pressure of having to be like, I'm good at the living room. I'm good in the living room.
That's the podcast.
Right.
That's the Seth Rothstein at the casino.
Right.
The Flamingo. What was he? What was his? Was it
Tangiers.
The Tangiers. Danny Tangiers is AKA been my nickname for years. But okay, so the podcast thing makes total sense.
Yeah.
So you've been doing that for 3 years.
It'll be 3 years. Action Junkeez will be 3 years in this coming January. And I started that with Jake Ellenberger, a buddy of mine who's a UFC fighter.
Right.
But
and that focuses on...
We talk about all things action, so anything that gets the blood flowing. So, obviously since Jake's a fighter and I love UFC and stuff, so we talk a lot about fighting. I love poker. I was raised in... It's hard to be raised in the casinos of Vegas and not
play cards.
Not get sucked into blackjack and poker and roulette and all that stuff.
Right.
And Jake's the same way, so... We've got some good war stories that, that's kind of how it started with us just swapping war stories over lunch. And then we were like, we should do a podcast because people would like these stories. I mean, I've got crazy stories from, playing roulette with Michael Jordan and turning $600 into $22,000 at the roulette wheel with Jordan and, won $100,000 on a horse race on a mistake ticket once. I mean, I've got some crazy, and I've also got some absolutely horrific loss stories.
I'm sure.
So we tell those on the podcast, and now I live in Vegas. I moved to Vegas a couple years ago, so I became geographically undesirable for Jake. So now I have a new host, Chad McBain, and it's been great. And we just started doing the shows on YouTube about a month or two ago.
Okay.
And it's been going great. And then in that time, since moving to Vegas, I just did a deal with the Tropicana to do Vegas Junkeez. I'm not going to host all the Junkeez shows, Danny, just these 2. And then that's it.
That's it.
Don't worry. You don't have to hear me talk politics or cars or
well,
health.
I can come help. The real estate Junkeez.
I love
I'll help.
Let's do it.
Help.
Let's do it.
I'm in.
I love it.
So tell me now about the the Vegas Junkeez is a little different. So.
Yeah, so Vegas Junkeez is more. I host it with co-host Natalie Tangerlini, affectionately known as Natalini, because her last name is a mouthful, and she's great. And that's more of like a poor man's Ryan Seacrest, Kelly Ripa type of thing.
Okay.
At least that's what we're going for. Just again, casual talk like this. But we focus not really on the gambling side of Vegas, more the entertainment side, the people, the properties. We've had Terry Fader on the show. We just had DJ Ashba.
I heard that Guns N' Roses and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, he blew us up. Like, it's funny.
I can't imagine the stories he had to say about Guns N' Roses and touring. And
yeah, I even asked him in the beginning. I'm like, hey, so like Guns N' Roses, you toured with them for like 7 years. And like, I just picture like when you go to a hotel, you're just like tearing shit up. Like, is that what it's like? And he goes, that's exactly what it's like.
How do you even survive 7 years on the road with Guns N' Roses, let alone 7 nights?
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 7 hours is about it, and your mind is going to blow. So he was on. What was he? The guitar player? He came
replaced Slash.
Yeah.
Or I guess he replaced Slash's replacement mate. No, he replaced Slash, I think. Yeah.
Well, you don't replace Slash,
Correct.
but he got the lucky opportunity to come in and step into that role, which he talks about openly. I mean, he knows. I mean, Slash was Slash.
Yeah. Then he left the band when Slash came back. So he was kind of a Slash's placeholder. Yeah. But what awesome. A ride. Yeah. And he's a real cool guy, too. He's super down to earth, super successful entrepreneur. He's got a water company. He's got a clothing line.
Yeah.
Like, he
sounded like a really smart.
You can't judge a book. He's covered in tattoos, Yeah. And he's really done all the right things to parlay to the next thing.
Clearly, he's figured it out. Yeah. So, talk to me a little bit about the Vegas action, the UFC. I know you're a friend of Dana White's. What's going on there? What's going on in the World Series of Poker? I mean, man. For all of us that aren't like deep in it.
Do you play poker at all?
Very little. I don't like to gamble.
You don't gamble. You're smart.
No, I work too hard.
I hear it.
When you have a real job and you work this hard, it's like,
it makes sense.
Someone grabs a 20 from me, I'm going to wrestle him to the death.
Yeah. I wish I had that. I wish I did. How do I get to think like that? I need to hang around you more, Danny.
Or Marv Levine. He can help.
Marv Levine,
Or Sandorf, Alan Sandorf, Marv Levine. Those guys, they'll teach you a little bit about the old school.
Yeah, I went the wrong route.
You went the other route.
Yeah,
you're a celebrity kid.
Went to the dark side. I didn't do alcohol or drugs as a vice.
But you like the gambling.
Yeah, I like the action.
You like the action, the adrenaline.
Can't help it. But I love living in Vegas. Obviously been going there since I was a kid, watching Dad, and went to UNLV, and obviously tons of random trips with the guys.
Yes, we've had a lot of those.
We've had a lot of those trips.
Good trips.
Yeah. But living there has been great. I mean, I used to never understand how people could talk shit about LA. Because I'm an LA guy. I mean, I love the Dodgers. Grew up here like you. We're LA people.
Right.
But when you leave LA. And you don't have to deal with that traffic, man. It just comes down to the traffic. It's too hard to go from. Where do you live close to here? What's your commute?
I lived in Chevy Hills. My commute now is 5 minutes to Beverly Hills. But I was going back and forth from Brentwood for 15 years. I'm in my car all day. So Beverly Hills, Hancock Park,
you're driving
Venice,
anyway.
Palisades. I'm driving.
Right.
But it sure is nice to go home and it's 5 minutes. So it should probably take 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 15 minutes, but
it's crazy. Like when you have to go 3 miles, it takes an hour. Like I can't do it.
Yeah, you can't get around it. LA traffic is brutal.
Yeah, and then bang for your buck. This is probably a sensitive topic for you because you sell. You're a realtor.
Oh God, don't tell me what you can get in Henderson.
It's ridiculous.
Are you in Henderson? Where
are you?
In
Henderson.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
just renting an apartment right now. I'm starting to look for houses now, and it's
just like a different world.
I mean, for 1.3 or something, you're looking at a hotel off of Melrose here with bars on the windows on top of each other. And 1.3 in Henderson gets you a palace you would want to die in.
It's a Mike Tyson spread.
Seriously. It gets you 5,000 square feet.
Oh, my God.
For $500,000.
Oh, painful.
I know. And no state taxes. You need to move, Danny.
I need to move. Well, once you do the real estate Junkeez, I can get an income. Boom, I'm out.
Okay. We need to
liquidate and move.
Yeah.
Liquidate and move. So what is going on with the UFC? And, it's exploded. It's now as big as any sport.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't always like that. But give me some insight, some stories.
It's pretty crazy. Dana White breaks it down the best. It's like he always says, like, fighting is in our DNA. And so it was really just a matter of time before the UFC kind of took off. off. You know, I remember when they first started it, like back in like maybe 93, something like that. It was considered barbaric. There were no weight classes. You'd see a guy in like a gi, like a little karate suit, you know, up against, you know, someone like Butterbean, you know, and they would fight. And it was the battle of seeing, like, you know, in a street fight, which discipline would be the best, right? Karate versus boxing, boxing versus wrestling, judo
grappling.
versus this, that, grappling,
Jiu-jitsu,
right?
this, that, yeah.
Right. And I remember, like, even I was turned off in the beginning because it was super bloody. Like, it was just like, it was
gruesome.
Yeah, it looked pretty much like it was bare knuckle. Like, they had really thin little gloves on, you know, and that might actually have been bare knuckle in the beginning. Don't quote me on that.
Were they in cages in the beginning? Was it always in like
Yeah.
the big...
Yeah.
So that was from the beginning.
Yeah, it was just...
I can't even remember how it started.
It was crazy. But then, you know, after Dana got the Fertittas to buy it, the UFC, and they dumped a lot of money into it, something like $30 million or $40 million over a, 3 to 5 year span.
Yeah.
They turned it into a global monster. I mean, they sold it for $4 billion, as I'm sure you know.
What a great investment, right? But at the time, you know, people probably thought they were nuts putting money into it. Why would you put money into that? But they obviously knew something that none of us knew.
And they have cool personalities, you know, like you were talking before we started, you know, about Randy Couture, you know, one of the pioneers, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. They those guys kind of put it on the map. Yeah. And then you eventually...
Pioneers.
Right. And then you got like Anderson Silva, who is really good, you know, and you had George St. Pierre in Canada. You started getting these people from around the world. So the world's eyes were focused on it. And now it's exciting. You've never been to a fight. I'm going to make you a fan. I'm going to turn you into a fan.
I am a fan. I've just never got sucked into it. But I bet if I went to a fight, I'd be blown away. Because I was a huge boxing fan growing up. And it was a major void when boxing, sort of the end of Tyson's career was the end of my love of boxing. It sort of broke my heart. And I am a huge Mike Tyson fan, both as his career when he was just a savage. And even now, he's changed. He's such a... just deep, sensitive, loving guy. And it's just like, wow, how do you reconcile those two things? But my love of boxing, you know, coming out of the heyday with Sugar Ray and Hagler and Leonard and end of Muhammad Ali and then leading up through and then it just dropped off.
We had a little resurgence,
you know, the
like
Vander Holyfield,
Pacquiao,
and then you got a little Pacquiao. Mayweather is fun, which is very
De La Hoya was cool,
De La Hoya,
but that was it, right?
That was it.
2 guys, 3
guys. A
guys,
couple guys, and it's not, you know, it hasn't been as exciting. I haven't had the passion.
It's coming back though. Have you been paying attention now? Like with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, like there's some guys.
There's
now,
some great fighters now. And
the Anthony Joshua just got knocked out by is it Anthony Ruiz or Andy Ruiz? Anthony Ruiz, yeah. You know, first Mexican heavyweight champion.
That was so fun to see that. I mean, that guy was overweight, and boom, he's the heavyweight champion. And what is it? He should get in shape. He might be able to make a run.
I think he probably will now. You know, now he's probably got the money to
get trainers and diet.
You know, it'd be interesting to see.
Like, how far can that guy to really take it if he was all in?
Right.
That'd be interesting. But I mean, it was so exciting with McGregor and Mayweather. However much Hollywood hoopla it is, that was unbelievable.
It was bittersweet for me. I mean, obviously, I picked Conor,
you had to wear a diaper. What happened there?
Because I made a bet with a rival,
you know about
not
this?
A rival, just some friends that host the MMA Junkie. No relation.
So when
to
you
me.
say you wore a diaper, I remember seeing it on social media. Were you like how did you fit into a diaper? It was a real diaper.
It was like a old man diaper.
Got it.
Yeah, I doubled up so it would look like I was
And you went
packing
out
heat
in public?
Too. Yeah,
in Vegas.
Yeah. So the bet was originally that I would if McGregor lost, I'd walk around Mandalay Bay in a diaper for 30 minutes. And so then obviously the fight was on a Saturday night. So the following morning on Sunday, I tweeted, "Hey, I'll be at Mandalay Bay tomorrow, walking around in a diaper, 9 a.m. for 30 minutes, and I'm going to be on the MMA Junkie radio show."
Yeah.
And so I get there. And actually, on my way there, they called me and they're like, "Hey, you can't, don't be wearing a diaper when you walk into the hotel because security." Of course, I tagged Mandalay. Security calls. And they're like, "Hey, not gonna happen. There'll be no adult male walking around this casino in a diaper.
We don't care about your bet.
Not
clean
gonna
their
happen."
act up.
Right. So we settled on I would have to sit on their set. They have their set. It looks like they have like a cage behind them and like a Sports Center kind of desk, right? So I had to sit
sitting in there
in front of the desk, like not like I'm on the panel.
That's
even
the footage I saw,
right? Holding like maracas and a tambourine in a diaper with a sign next to me that says I was dumb enough to bet on Conor McGregor and now I have to wear this diaper. and I wasn't allowed to speak. Their show, by the way, is 2 hours long. So
You're
I
sitting
sat
there in a diaper for 2 hours?
for 2 hours and they're live. They're live on Sirius XM and then live on like
embarrassing.
YouTube, whatever. So at the end, I thought it was bet paid. They were like, that wasn't embarrassing enough. Like,
What do you mean?
because they're like, really, the thing was you had to be publicly shamed, and we can't see the reaction on our listeners and watchers' faces. So we've been cheated. So they're like, we're gonna have to go out on the strip, and you're gonna walk around in this diaper on the strip. So I was a good sport,
Wonderful.
and I was like, okay.
Did you get arrested?
Fine. No, you would think, right? Yeah, Vegas. It's Vegas, Danny. Anything goes. You can do anything, right? So, so we went out on the strip, actually on the bridge that connects like New York, and Excalibur.
Oh, that bridge?
Right, yeah. Like,
the one I hang out on all the time?
Right, yeah. So I was standing on this bridge, and people were walking by taking pictures of me. So embarrassing. And then like 2 days later, I flew here to L.A., I swear on my life, true story. So that ended up. So the good thing is, it blew up my podcast.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we ended up with 18 million
All right,
impressions.
let's get diapers on.
Yeah, you should do the show in diapers. It'll do
Diapers.
wonders for you. Yeah, for sure.
Some
Maybe hold
wackos.
a rattle. Yeah, I'll send you my maraca.
I'm going to try to replicate the diaper incident.
Do it. You look good in diapers too.
Great.
Adult
Sure.
huggies. They're
Great.
nice.
Perfect.
They're so comfy.
Yeah.
I ended up on the front page of like Bleacher Report,
that's all
ESPN.com,
right.
SportsIllustrated.com. I was Colin Cowherd featured me.
I do remember this now
It was
that you got
pretty
some publicity off
So
this.
I'm on a flight from Vegas to LA, like literally 2 or 3 days later, and I feel tap on my shoulder. I look to my right, two like college looking dudes. They're like, "Are you the diaper guy?" I'm like, "Wow, yeah,
That's you.
That's me."
So did you, were you really thinking Conor McGregor was going to win? Because there was a lot of serious fight fans that knew a lot that thought he really would win that fight.
Yeah.
And I don't, being a fight fan and understand, apparently his style and his explosiveness and his mental toughness is so unique that people thought he really has have a good chance. Even though McGregor's the, best, Mayweather is the best pound for pound fighter in the world, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And he was actually beating him. If you hear them analyzing the fight, he was actually
100, and I was there too.
Leading and dominating the fight. And Mayweather, being a very crafty fighter, switched up his style, which he never does because no one can usually compete with him.
And he started walking him down.
And he started doing things differently, and McGregor wasn't
No
prepared.
gas.
He didn't prepare for that.
And no gas in the tank.
Yeah.
for
So
that.
what a fascinating thing.
When he landed that uppercut, I don't
was
remember
like,
that. Because
this could be
Conor
it.
has thunder in that left. So I just thought he's just got to connect one time on the button with that left, and Floyd's going to sleep. But
what
that
an
wasn't the
incredible
case.
guy. What mental toughness when you hear him talk about where he came from in Ireland and poor and
He was on welfare 4 years,
and
5
working
years ago.
working construction site and had no chance and here he is, unreal mental toughness.
It really is.
There's so many stories you can get into, and if there's anything you can share with us, I know I don't know where to even go. Vegas stories, entertainer stories, growing up in Hollywood stories. If there's anything that stands out that you're comfortable sharing, I would love to hear some stuff.
It's really nuts for me now because I grew up so lucky, as you know, and met everyone just because of my dad, between his TV show and just being my dad.
Yeah. So it was just normal.
You meet athletes and you meet famous people, and like now they're starting to come on the podcast, which is so crazy.
Full
like
circle.
even like Jerry Royce, I had him on
Love
like a month
seeing
ago
Jerry
or
Royce. I
whatever,
saw
and,
that.
And I know our listeners probably don't really care about Jerry Royce, but like some of that's just selfish for me. Like who cares?
Yeah.
Like sit down with a guy that pitched a no-hitter, won a World Series, played 20 years in the big leagues.
Unbelievable.
Come on. And I remember literally sitting in Tommy Lasorda's office in the locker room when I was like 10 years old, and Jerry standing literally naked, like comes out of the shower. Like they give these guys these towels, these like big league players. It's like what you would call a hand towel. They have for like their waist. Like it's pointless.
Yeah.
So most of them
Here
just
comes
go
Jerry
without.
Royce. He's a pretty big
and literally
guy.
they're like, it's like after the game, and like he's just drying himself off, talking to Tommy, literally naked. And I'm sitting on the
You're
couch.
10.
Jerry Royce is like 6'6", So
You're making eye contact.
If you do the
with-
math,
yeah.
like we're seeing eye to eye, but with the wrong eyes. So like things like that, it's just so surreal to me. Like, and then to have him on the podcast, or like I just reached out to Jay Leno, who like opened for my dad when I was maybe 13 years old in Reno or Tahoe somewhere. And
Amazing.
I remember Jay watched the whole show backstage, my dad's show after Jay opened. He was watching my dad perform, and so I was backstage too.
Incredible.
I'm like literally 12, 13 years old. And Jay, for some reason, grabbed a electrical tape, like a big roll of electrical tape, started at my ankles, and was just and wrapped me up so fast, like I had no clue why, and then like pushed me out on stage, and like I ended up like hobbling out on stage.
And that was part of the shtick.
Yeah, and that was just part of his thing. But like to go from that to now, like talking to him, like I'm not positive I'm going to get him yet, but I think he'll do it. Maybe
you're
when he
going to
comes
get him.
Vegas.
Come on,
but,
Jay.
It's like it's so crazy to me to like think like to go from point A to point B, or
Life.
maybe even A to Z, let's call it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Full
like that.
circle.
Yeah.
What is this Michael Jordan story? I feel like I've heard that you told me this like 10 years ago,
man.
probably sitting at a blackjack table
Yeah.
or in Vegas with all our guys, but I can't. I kind of forgot what happened.
So February, I remember the day, Danny, because you
course
don't
you do.
forget that day.
You don't
So
forget when MJ's in the
February-
building.
right? So February 18th, 1993 I was working
You
at
were
Front
young.
Runners.
Young.
Excuse me. So I'm working at Front Runners at the time, but I'm living in Hidden Hills at my dad's.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, very convenient.
Brentwood here, front runners.
Right,
and
you
you're
know,
driving.
yeah.
Nope.
So exactly. So you just hit on it. So that's at least an hour.
I mean, the gas money's probably more than you get
in the
paid.
morning. Yeah,
an
actually,
hour.
it was pretty good. Commission. It was pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
that
they get
gig. Yeah,
commissions.
it was good. It was good. Best job ever, actually.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was my only normal job I ever really had, to be honest. So that's probably was the best job. So it's pouring down rain, and I know that it's going to be a tough commute from Hidden Hills. So I leave. I'm responsible. I got to be there at 9. The store doesn't even open till 10, but you got to like fold clothes and stuff before we open. And so I leave my dad's at 7. I don't get to the parking lot here in Brentwood until literally 9:15. So I'm 15 minutes late. Took 2 hours and 15 minutes. This was the first day of like this crazy 7-day storm that ended up being like on CNN and all this crazy stuff back then, right? So like up halfway to the traffic light, like the cars were floating down Ventura, So it was like mayhem, It's like storm in the Southland. You know how they do it.
Yeah.
So
everyone's freaking out.
right. So we get there, I get there, and there's nowhere to park. And so I literally park like 2 blocks away because we're not allowed to park in the parking lot. It's for customers, right?
Of course.
So I park like a couple blocks away on Dorothy Street somewhere, like Barrington, Dorothy, right? Do those even intersect?
Darlington, of
Darlington,
course.
yeah. So
And you're walking in the rain.
dude, I'm sprinting in the rain, and I'm like, it's just puddle after puddle after puddle, and like when I finally get to the store, my socks are like.
Yeah, people don't understand when it rains in LA, the drainage system doesn't work because it's not used to being rain. It's filled with trash. And so when it rains,
It's like
everything
the world
floods
is ending.
immediately.
Yeah.
10 minutes of rain, it's a flood.
Right. It's headline news,
Yeah.
right? So I get to the store, and the manager doesn't want to let me in. Now, granted, I've known this manager since I'm 7 years old from shopping at Front Runners as a
Yeah, of
kid.
course, everyone
and now I'm
went there.
22, right?
Yeah.
So he won't let me in because it's my third time late in 6 months.
Strike 3.
Strike 3. And they put this policy into play because of me.
It's the John Orlando clause.
Right. Yes. They're like, there's got to be consequences for this, because I was good at sales. So it was like, what do you do? What do you do? It's kind of like,
the star
I was like
sales
the Barry Bonds of Al Bundy's.
He's like,
he's
he's so good, but his attitude is just late.
I don't take batting practice with the team.
Yeah, Allen Iverson. Well, practice?
Right.
No practice.
I'm not coming in to fold shirts. I'll see you at 10 for the real work.
Yeah.
You layman's fold the shirts and
I'll just start
socks.
draining
Yeah.
threes, hitting home runs.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
unpack a box of wigwams. I ain't doing it. So so I get to the door. So he basically fires me, whatever,
crushing.
Yeah, crushing. So now I go back home. Actually, I go to my mom's apartment, which was 5 minutes from Front Runners. I would like to make things complicated.
Yeah.
Why stay 5 minutes away when you could commute for
An
2
hour in
hours,
the
right?
rain,
Yeah.
or 2 hours.
So I did what any responsible human being would do the day you get fired from your job, Danny. I got on a plane and I flew to Vegas. Okay?
Yeah, that's what most responsible people would do.
Right?
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I had in my wallet, I had a Super Bowl winning ticket. So remember, this is February 18th. So the Super Bowl back then was the first Sunday in February, was the last Sunday in January. Now it's the first Sunday in February.
You had a winning ticket.
I had a winning ticket. Dallas Cowboys.
What, $50
to win.
or something?
No, $200 at the beginning of the season. I always do $200 at the beginning of the season. They were 10-1 that year, and that's the year they first beat the Buffalo Bills 52-17.
$2,000
at the time, largest margin of victory in Super Bowl history at the time. You're intrigued. I like it. So
$2,000
so
you
$2,000
won?
I'm going to collect.
You're
right?
in 1993?
Yeah, right? Big dollars. Yeah.
Big dollars. That's
Yeah.
like you went IPO or something.
100%,
cashed
right?
out.
Retire.
Yeah.
Never work again.
Never work
Yeah.
again. No.
Right?
I mean, that is so far from my reality back. I would never in a million years have gotten fired and
Yeah. Crazy, man.
yeah. So this was your I'm going
Yeah.
to Vegas. I got 2 G's.
Yeah, I got 2 G's, and so I blow through the 2 G's in literally 15 minutes playing blackjack.
Wow.
Betting like a lunatic.
At that age.
Yeah. Very upsetting.
Very upsetting.
Again, I did the next responsible move, which was take some money off the credit card
Great.
to get it back.
Just max it.
Yeah, which at the time I think my limit was literally like $500. I
Yeah.
think was
So
my
you
limit.
got $499 out.
Yeah,
and you-
right, with the fees. And I probably got 5 and then overdrafted the card or whatever, and then double penalty.
Yeah.
Like, right? It was that.
Oh, and you owed
5
them-
cost 8.
Yeah.
right?
You owed them $50 at
For
the end
sure.
of it.
So I love it. Wait, I thought you didn't gamble. You know a lot about this.
No,
Danny.
I know a lot
You've
about
got
it, which is
friends.
why I don't gamble.
Yeah. Okay. Hashtag degenerate friends.
Yes.
Okay. So I blow through the 500. Now I'm starting to freak out. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. Like reality's starting to set in. Lost my job. What am I going to do? So back then, I guess you still could now, but like back then, you probably remember the day when you'd walk around with a checkbook.
Yeah.
You remember those days, right? When you
Wait
actually.
a minute.
Yes.
You got a checkbook in Vegas and you're writing checks?
Yes. So I wrote a check to the casino because I don't know if you remember this. There was
Wait,
a time.
your check or was it like your
It
dad's
was mine.
checkbook?
No, it was my check. My check.
Your name?
Yeah, my name. But like there was a time if you're
You had like
listening to
$16
this.
left in it?
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're under, let's say 40, and you're listening to this, there was a time you could write on a piece of paper essentially an IOU.
Yes.
Right? And then you could
Hand
give
it.
them this piece of paper, and then someone would give you goods and services or even money
Cash, yeah.
for it, which is crazy
What a
to
concept
me.
now.
Right. Yeah,
What a concept.
now, you can't cash a check anymore, can you? Does anyone take a check?
Can you imagine a 20-year-old in a casino writing a check
This
today?
is
Like,
insanity that they let this go, right? So I wrote this check. I remember I wrote a check for, now in Vegas, the rule is back then, I don't know what it is now, but back then, you were allowed to write one check for $200 per trip, and a 14 days constitutes a trip. So their computers were all linked up to all the other casinos, so you couldn't go to like Caesars and write 200, Mirage and write 200. You couldn't do
Ooh, they
that,
had
right?
high-tech security.
So they were connected,
financial security system set up.
right? But
You knew a loophole.
the loophole was the last name, right? So if you knew someone and someone knew you, let's say you had a dad that maybe had a name in that town, whatever, and you had the gift of gab, which, not to pat myself on the back, Danny B, I might have
Yeah,
the gift.
I'd say you do.
I wrote a $1,000 check
What?
to the Mirage.
I can't believe this.
I lost all of that.
They gave you $1,000.
They gave me $1,000 for this piece of paper that says I've got the money in the bank.
So you get 1,000.
Danny, I sold shoes. It was good money, but there was not an extra 1,000 in the bank
No,
for this
of course not.
transaction. Okay,
Of course not.
So I lose that, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? So again, Danny, I've clearly on that day on February 18th, I'm making a string of responsible decisions.
Yes, I see a pattern here.
Yeah,
I see a pattern
history,
building.
and history repeats itself.
And I
you
see
know?
momentum building.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I know they're all linked up on the computer, but why don't I just go next door to Caesars from the Mirage? It's just a hop, skip, and a jump. And let's just talk to them and see, Dad has headlined at Caesars, right? So maybe I can get some love.
God.
So I write $1,000 check to them. I get the money, right?
Wow.
So now I go back to the Mirage because it's like personal. I want the money that they took from me,
they owe you.
right? So I sit down at a blackjack table and I'm playing blackjack and I blow through 400 of the 1,000 really quick. Now I've got 600, and now somehow the reality, even for my twisted brain at the time, it has now sunk in that there needs to be a new game plan. And the new game plan was my return flight was at 6 p.m. It's maybe now like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So my new plan was Okay,
This is
just
unreal.
go slow. Stop betting like a lunatic. Last until you have to go to the airport. Go to the airport. Go back to L.A. It's a February 18th is a Friday. On Monday, go back to Front Runners. Put your tail between your legs and get your job back.
Beg for your job.
That's the new plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sitting there at the blackjack table. Remember, it's Friday afternoon, like 2:00. So Vegas is kind of empty. Not everybody's in town yet. It's a weekend
Yeah.
town. And my dealer says, "Oh, look, there's Dr. J." So I turn around thinking,
Julius Irving's in the house?
right. So I turn around, but it's not. It's not Dr. J. It's Michael Jordan.
It's MJ.
Yeah.
And he's calling him Dr.
So
J.
I say, that's not Dr. J. That's Michael Jordan. What are you talking about? So she argues with me. I'm like, whatever. So now, you know how like when you're in the casino, kind of you do this, like you end up doing a lap
Yeah, of
sometimes,
course.
right?
A lot of
so,
laps.
So
Lot of
Jordan
laps.
comes back around for the second lap. And she's like, look, there he is. There he is again. There's Michael, there's Dr.
Dr. J.
I turn around. I'm like, what is wrong with you? So I even show her. I'm like, look, I'm wearing the shoes. Like, that is Michael. How do you not know who Michael Jordan is, right?
Yeah.
So finally, I'm fed up with her. So I yell as he's got his back to me. He's probably 20 feet from me. I go, hey, Mike. He turns around. I point at the dealer and I say, she thinks you're Dr. J. He comes walking over to the table. He sits down. He does the classic joke. I know, lady, we all look alike, right?
Right.
He couldn't say that now, but
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm quoting
Yes,
Jordan, so
yes.
don't come down on me, people.
Yeah.
Okay. So he sits down, and now it's literally he has no entourage, no assistant,
Just
no
him.
friend. It is Michael Jordan by himself with an unlit cigar in his mouth. Okay.
is
And so we're sitting there playing blackjack, and I am freaking out because, like, even though, and you've met you grew up here and you run
Yeah,
in
yeah.
circles, like you've met celebs and you get immune to it, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
not a big deal, but when it's an athlete on
it's
that
Michael
level,
Jordan,
I
it's
don't
something
care who
else.
you've met, it's a big deal,
Yeah.
right? So instantly, I know the unwritten rule is if you meet a celebrity or an athlete or something and you have a famous father, you must disclose this information as fast as humanly possible because it makes you not just some regular plebeian. You come up a notch. You're not a peer. You're
Yeah.
somewhere between plebeian and peer, right?
There you go.
So he starts singing songs. He's like, oh, I used to watch the show and the Thelma and Joyce and
He's singing
tie
songs.
a ribbon and knock 3 times, right? So I'm
That's
like, this
hilarious.
is crazy. And in my head, I'm like, I'm playing blackjack with Michael Jordan. And I'm just betting like $25 a hand, which is still a lot back then.
I mean,
at
reality
22,
is that's a
But I'm
day's
just
work at the
right.
shoe-
So I'm like, right, exactly, right. So I'm like, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. So after maybe 30 minutes or so, I say to Mike, no clue why, I go, do you want to play roulette? Do you like roulette? He's like, I love roulette. That's my game. I'm like, let's go. So now me and Michael Jordan get up from the blackjack table. It's crazy, right? It's insane. So we get up from the blackjack table and we walk to the roulette. This is at the Mirage. We walk to the roulette wheel and I've got $600. And now it's like I've got maybe 30 minutes before I know I got to start going to the airport, right? And so I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm already down like $4,000. Like, this is awful day.
I mean, that's like being down $4 million.
Oh my God, it's borderline tears, right? But it's like just fighting through it right now. But I know there will be a moment of shedding tears, whether it's
Yeah.
on the plane, in the parking garage, back
So
in
you
LA,
knew there was
wherever
hell
it
to
is.
pay at some point.
Totally. So normally I play the same numbers at roulette. I play 7, 9, 11, 26, and 30. They are all right next to each other on the wheel. And my favorite number was 11. And the reason why I started playing 7, 9, 26, and 30 is because I got so sick of saying, damn it, it's right next door to 11. Or damn it, it's 2 doors down from 11. So now I'm like, let me get 2 doors down on the left, 2 doors down on the right.
Got it.
7,
You're
9,
playing
11,
real
26, and
estate.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
So I tell Jordan, I say, I play these numbers. I make this bold statement. I was always into bold statements,
Real confident.
So, right. So I've got $600. I've got 6 black chips, right? So I tell him, Mike, because I can call him Mike because we're friends
You're
now.
boys.
We're bonded through blackjack, right?
Yeah.
So I tell him, look, these are the numbers I normally play. That's 5 numbers. I have another 100. I'm putting 100 on 23 for you, right? So he puts 200 on 23, which is table max at the time.
Got
right?
it.
It pays 35 to 1. So if I win, I'm getting $3,500. He's getting $7,000. He puts $1,000 on red because 23 is red, right? The lady spins the ball, and I tell her while it's spinning, I said, I swear on my life, if you hit any one of my numbers, I will give you $500. I'll take $3,000. You take 500, and I am happy, right? What do you think it hits?
No way.
23.
No way.
23.
No
23.
way.
That's nuts.
Okay, I'm freaking out. I'm high-fiving Jordan to the point where my hand is like raw and red. Okay, it's itchy. I'm smacking his hand so hard, screaming like I can't believe this. Like I'm back. Like I'm still down, but I'm back now.
You're
like
back.
who cares? You know, it's worth it. If it cost $1,000 to meet Michael Jordan, it was worth it today for the story, right? So. The very next spin, I tell Mike, I'm like, funny you said 11. So I say, Mike, you got to bet on 11. That's my favorite number. Bet on 11. That's in honor of Travis Woods. Okay, you got to bet. You got to bet on number 11. Okay, so shout out to Travis Woods. Team in the house. So
great baseball player.
I do the same. Great baseball player, right?
Man.
How did he not make the major leagues? It makes me ill.
Yeah,
that's a separate podcast.
Yeah, separate.
Damn it, Travis.
Attitudes.
So anyway. Mike puts 100 on 11. He puts 200 on 23 for the next spin. He puts another 1,000 on red. I do my same bet, 7, 9, 11, 26, 30, and 23, because you never know. Maybe it repeats. And I tell the dealer, same thing. You hit my number, you're getting $500. Boom. 11. True story. I am now standing on top of my chair at roulette, right? So I can rub on my life.
You're rubbing his dome?
I am rubbing Jordan's dome. Okay? All right? And screaming with my arms up in the air like DiCaprio on the bow of the Titanic long before he did it. He took that move from me, I'm positive. And to the point where security comes over, makes me get down. I'm in trouble for being crazy. There is a crowd of Asians around us taking pictures of me and Jordan. People asking me if they can take a picture with him, and I'm like his security guard. And I weigh 145 pounds at the time, right? And I'm like, no pics. You know. So who comes walking up to the roulette wheel right after that? Dr. J.
No.
So she kind of had it right. So if you look this up, you will find that the NBA All-Star Game was in Salt Lake City in 1993.
Okay.
And today the format, I'm not a big basketball guy, but today I believe the format is rookie game on Friday, slam dunk Saturday, game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Back then it was just game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Or Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was. So if you're a millionaire player, what are you going to do? Chill in Salt Lake or come to Vegas?
Yeah.
Before you come to Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So Jordan ends up leaving with Dr. J. He gives me a card with his assistant's name on it and says, hey, if you and dad are ever in Chicago, you want to come to a game, call the office. We'll take care of you. Tell them who you are, blah, 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 blah. He leaves. I end up walking. I tell that dealer, same deal. Every time I hit one of my numbers, you're getting $500. I walked away from that roulette wheel with $22,000.
Drop the mic.
Drops the mic.
That is one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. I've heard bits and pieces through the years you've told, but to hear it all at once, that's a true story.
It's crazy, right? Wow. And then 6 months later, Jordan, I don't know if you remember this, literally 6 months later, he retired from basketball. He had the gambling thing with the golf or whatever. Right? Do you
all
remember
sorts
all
of
that?
issues, and his dad passed away.
His dad passed away, and it was like controversial, and he stepped away. So I never got to take him up on the basketball. I know he came back to play.
Came back later, but it was
whatever. Yeah, and then I thought it was weird. Like, hey, I met you gambling, so I was like, that might be weird. So I was just like, oh well, forget it. Yeah.
Oh God!
But I've seen him since. I have never mentioned that story to him. But I have introduced myself as Tony's son to like remind him.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, hey, how's your dad? Whatever. But I was always thinking like,
do you remember?
You do remember that, right?
For him, it was like, I want another day.
I got so many gambling stories.
Yeah,
like that probably was a nothing story to him.
That was a classic.
Right?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know where to go from there.
Crazy, man.
Anything else you want to share with us today
Man,
on this podcast? Because I dropped the mic.
I have a real estate question.
Okay.
For you.
I may have or may not have an answer.
I am at the point I want to start really seriously looking into getting a house.
Yeah.
But now a lot of people are telling me don't buy a house right now because there's going to be a crash. What are your thoughts on that, Danny Brown? I want you to tell me what to do.
Well, this is what I do.
Okay.
I have a crystal ball in here.
Right.
Not quite crystal. It's a red crystal ball.
I like it.
This ball, it's
yeah,
a little controversial. That's an agency ball, but now I made a compass. But that's a whole nother story.
I love it.
For another podcast.
Okay.
But you know what? Nobody has any clue. Real estate always goes in cycles. We've been on an up cycle for many years in LA. You got to talk about what market you're in because Vegas is different from New York, which is already slowing down, versus LA. Everything goes in cycles. There will be an adjustment. Whether it's now, whether it's in a year, whether it's in 5 years, no one knows. It does seem that Trump has a good chance of staying in office as much as people are upset about that.
Yep.
And that's good for real estate, good for business. So it could run longer than people expect. I don't know when it's going to happen. There will be an adjustment. Is it going to be a hardcore crash like the Great Recession? I doubt it.
Right.
The fundamentals and the financing and the banking is a lot different now than it was back in 2008 and 2009. So if it does adjust, which it will, it shouldn't be as severe. But again, I always say don't buy anything on spec. If you're buying something, buy it long term, have a 10-year outlook.
And that was my next question was like, even if there is a crash, does it even matter?
It matters, right? But if you can afford your mortgage and afford your situation and it's long term, eventually the cycle's going to come back and it's going to appreciate, especially if you're in a very desirable area and growth areas like LA. Vegas as well has been explosive growth, a little obviously different than LA in different ways. But so look, the other side of this coin is right now we're at historical low interest rates. And if you can go get a jumbo loan for 3.5%, 4%, and the market, think about if that goes up 25% and you're paying, just if you're paying 5% in 3 years. So if that goes up 20%, the cost of money goes up 20%, but then the prices drop 20%. You're kind of level on what you're paying every month. Anyway, there's no perfect answer. You don't do it unless you know you can withstand long term, and there's no way to time the market. And if you have a great situation where you're paying low rent, I always say, well, then, just take your time. There's no rush. But also, if you have a great opportunity to buy and lock in low interest rates, nothing wrong with that either. But I wouldn't do it on spec. If someone's like, hey, I got to flip this thing in a year or two, am I going to make money and get rich? I'd say, that's crazy. Go to Vegas. Go hang out with Jon O and Michael Jordan and play roulette and bet on 23.
Always bet on 23.
Always bet on 23. But yeah, that's the crystal ball answer.
All right.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
That's the real deal.
That is the real deal. So,
dude,
Jon,
this was a lot of fun, man.
I'm so glad I've got to hang out and do this, and we're not in Vegas at some club where we can barely hear each other. And I got you in between meetings, so thank you for sharing these stories.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I'll get out to a fight soon with you.
You're going to get out to a fight, and you're coming on Action Junkeez.
I'd love to come on Action Junkeez, and I'd love to us all to get a little Vegas trip going. It's been a few years.
I know. What happened?
We got old. We have kids.
Our trip melted this year.
Yeah, I have a dad body. I have kids. Well, it's hard to get to Vegas, but Jon Orlando, legend.
Thank you.
Love it. Good to see you, brother.
You too, man.
Cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best. I am what I am today, cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best.
Hey, thank Jon Orlando for coming in and chopping it up with us on the deal. You can always find Jon at Jon Orlando, Jon spelled Jon. You can also find him at Action Junkeez Podcast and at Vegas Junkeez Podcast. You got to tune in. He's got some great guests on his podcast. It's fantastic information and just a lot of fun. So I appreciate Jon hanging out with us, going to the Dodgers game with me. See you soon. Peace out.
I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best.